Welcome to Orbit Insight AI. Today, we're diving into Claude Design and exploring how it's basically synthesizing the future of knowledge work. Now look, I have a confession to make right up front. I literally can't even draw a circle that closes properly. Seriously, it's bad. If you hand me a pen and ask for a sketch, the results are going to be pretty disastrous. But today, we're exploring how this brand new AI tool gives absolute non-designers, people just like me and honestly probably a lot of you watching this explainer, the power of an entire creative agency. And you get all of this without needing to know a single thing about vector graphics or color theory.
Our source actually shared a super relatable childhood anecdote about this, having an art teacher crush their creative dreams early on. But it perfectly sets up this massive paradigm shift we're witnessing right now in tech. Beautiful, professional design, it is no longer locked behind natural artistic skill or, years of expensive training. Why? Well, it's all because of Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.7 model. For the very first time, we have an AI that doesn't just spit out text or write blocks of code. It actually understands spatial relationships, aesthetic harmony, visual hierarchies. It can literally see, reason, and create visually. It's a fundamental leap forward, and it completely changes the game for anyone who's ever struggled to make their ideas actually look good.
Okay, let's dive into this. Traditionally, hiring brand designers to build out a proper identity, a polished pitch deck, and a landing page, that is a massive undertaking. In India, for example, that usually runs you anywhere from 1 to 5 lakh rupees. And it takes, 2 to 4 weeks of constant back and forth, mood boards, revisions, approvals. It is incredibly slow and super expensive. But with Claude Design, that entire agonizing workflow collapses down to literal minutes. You skip all the discovery calls, you skip the waiting, and the cost, it's nothing more than the price of your standard Pro subscription. The barrier to entry for a truly premium brand identity has effectively dropped to zero. And this speed builds into an even bigger shift in how we work. Think about the absolute most painful tool in modern corporate life. Yep, PowerPoint. Every single year, billions of hours are wasted by really brilliant professionals who are just fighting with charts, meticulously trying to align text boxes or picking fonts that don't look completely terrible. It's a massive drain on productivity. Anthropic's core mission here is to eliminate that friction entirely. Claude Design is built so you can spend your time actually thinking about the narrative. You get to focus on the quality of your ideas rather than agonizing over slide alignment and margin spacing.
So, how do we actually do this? Well, our source provided the exact blueprints to build a brand from scratch, and honestly, it's remarkably simple. Step 1, just pick 2 brands whose aesthetic you already love. Step 2, use a free tool called Firecrawl.dev to scrape those websites. It instantly converts their colors, fonts, and overall vibe into structured JSON data. Now, if you aren't technical, don't worry about the acronym. That's essentially just clean, readable text that the AI can instantly digest. Step 3, you paste that data right into Claude. And Step 4, ask Claude to synthesize a completely new visual identity based on those inputs. It's just a straightforward, totally repeatable process.
And this brilliantly illustrates the power of that synthesis. In the source's example, the goal was to create a brand new Indian health watch. So they took the clean, super premium, minimalist feel of the Apple Watch, and they mashed it up with the energetic, highly technical, health-focused vibe of Ultrahuman. Now, Claude didn't just copy them. It actually extracted the underlying DNA of both brands. The result? A totally original, incredibly sleek brand named Vajra. It captured the exact emotional resonance they were looking for, perfectly blending premium luxury with hardcore fitness tracking. But the sheer depth of what Claude generates from that single prompt is what's truly mind-blowing. It doesn't just hand you a basic logo, pat you on the back, and wish you luck. No, it outputs the core brand positioning. It writes out a complete design philosophy. It hands you the exact hex color palettes you need to use across all your assets. It provides a highly sophisticated typography strategy. And it even dictates the voice and tone right lines for your future marketing copy. It stitches together a completely unique, uncopyable brand language that's perfectly tailored to your target audience. It's basically a fully realized creative strategy pulled right out of thin air. Now, once you hit generate on that brand system, you're going to need to keep the number 15 in mind. That's because it takes about 5 to 15 minutes of patience. And honestly, you absolutely should be patient. Think about what's actually happening here. In the background, Claude is essentially acting like a highly paid senior designer. It's exploring digital materials, writing README files, building cohesive color systems, laying out intricate typography rules, and creating component guidelines. Things like buttons, cards, and spacing rules. It is doing what would normally take dozens of human hours of intensive agency work, and it's doing the whole shebang while you step away to grab a cup of coffee.
When it's finally done, you can instantly turn that massive design system into a pitch deck, and this is where it feels truly agentic. Claude acts exactly like a human designer taking a client brief. Before it writes a single slide, it proactively stops and asks you pre-briefing questions. Who exactly is the audience? How long is the presentation? What's the price point of the product? Armed with your answers, it generates a highly tailored 5-minute pitch deck. It writes compelling copy for investors. It seamlessly pulls in unprompted market data, like vital statistics on India's health crisis, and it even builds in professional, smooth slide animations right out of the gate. But what if you want to make a tweak? You don't have to start from scratch or explain X and Y coordinates. Claude features this incredible instant feedback loop using a live editing draw tool. You literally just take your mouse, circle an element, let's say the word India, and type a quick conversational note, something like, hey, make it bigger, in brand color, and more aesthetic. Claude instantly re-renders the design to match your vision. It is the exact same natural feedback loop that human designers use when they're pointing at a screen with the client. Except here, your designer is an AI, and the edits happen in real time without any pushback whatsoever. And the magic doesn't stop at just presentation slides either. You can stretch that exact same brand identity into a fully coded functional landing page. We're talking custom hero sections, dynamic product feature blocks, compelling calls to action, and all of it perfectly matching your new design system. But honestly, here's the part that is genuinely unbelievable. Claude can imagine and animate a full launch video for your product. In our sources test, Claude generated a premium, highly stylized animated launch film for the Vajra Pro watch without ever being fed a single photo of the physical product. It completely extrapolated what the watch should look like based solely on the brand identity it had just created. No way, right? So the crucial point is knowing the limits of all this. 77%. The source issued a pretty real-talk warning here. Synthesizing just 2 brands and building out these assets consumed 77% of their monthly Pro plan's token allowance. Because it is doing such incredibly heavy visual reasoning and coding, this tool drinks tokens fast, like really fast. So if you're serious about using this for your business, you absolutely must budget your usage carefully. You have to be intentional with your prompts and understand that this level of cognitive output requires a massive, massive amount of compute power. Which naturally brings us to the big macro industry question on everyone's mind right now as they watch this tech evolve. Is this legitimately going to replace Figma? Well, the firm answer is no. If you are a professional designer who needs absolute pixel-perfect control over every single vector, layer, and gradient, Figma is still very much your domain. Professional UI and UX designers are not being replaced by this specific workflow today. Claude just isn't trying to compete on that highly granular, micro level of control that seasoned pros demand. Instead, what Claude is explicitly doing is building a design layer for non-designers. It's targeting the founders who couldn't draw to save their lives but desperately need to communicate a vision. It's for the consultants who urgently need a polished, highly persuasive pitch deck by tomorrow morning and, don't exactly have an agency on retainer. And it's for the marketers who want to spin up a high-converting landing page to test an idea without having to hire an entire web development team. It completely democratizes professional aesthetics. It allows anyone with a genuinely good idea to present it with the polish of a Fortune 500 company. Let's zoom out for a second and look at why this really matters on a strategic level. Anthropic's endgame here isn't just about building a fun little chatbot that can make pretty slides. No, they are attempting to own the entire knowledge work stack. By perfectly integrating coding agents and design agents into one seamless workflow, they are essentially trying to build the Apple ecosystem of AI. The companies that figure out how to deeply integrate all these highly specialized tools into one unified platform, they are going to have an impenetrable moat. That level of seamless interoperability is exactly what will completely dominate the next decade of business software. I want to leave you with this really provocative warning directly from our source. They said, the gap between people who use these tools and people who don't is about to get very, very wide. Just think about the profound truth in that statement for a second. You now have the power of an entire creative agency, a senior designer, and a front-end developer sitting right there at your fingertips. So I challenge you, go build something today. Take that idea you've been sitting on and finally bring it to life visually. Don't get left behind in this massive industry shift. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.